if I could sort of go through the art of saying no and cover everything off in an hour, I'd be a magician. But hopefully you're going to get a lot from this today. I can see a couple more people entering. And what I'll do just before we begin, I'll just put in the chat a little password that'll give you access. I've just put a little link and password, a link to the workbook that I did. I'm just wondering if you're able to use your reactions. Have you all received the workbook? It was one sent out to you before today? If you could just put a little hands up or a thumbs up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, oh, lovely. That's great. Well, if you haven't had access to it, no worries at all. It's in the chat there. I've just put a link, and that links through to my website, which Peter put together. So Peter created my website, and that's as a result, Peter Surridge here. And that's as a result of being a Mint member. So what I'm going to do actually, so my name's Theresa Peters. My business is Accelerator Coaching, for those of you who don't know me. And I was a member of Mint for quite a while, and they were a brilliant, supportive business group for me. And at the time, I had a publishing company, and then I wanted to really go for it with my coaching company. And I swear, if it wasn't for Mint, I wouldn't be doing my coaching as I am full time today. I started it in lockdown. I'm an executive coach. I'm certified in that, and I'm certified as a life coach. So I'm certified in both. So I try to bring the two together using a bit of science as well. And I know people in the room, especially Rebecca Dinsdale, you'll appreciate what we do for a living. And it's all about people. Just nothing gives me greater joy than seeing someone sort of have an internal shift or just progress and be happy. And that's what I'm hoping you get out of today. So and yeah, I've got the yellow room behind because my brand's all yellow, and again, that's Mint influence. So yeah, also, just so you know, in the chat, and it won't be me just talking like this all the way through. I'm hoping that it's going to be experiential, although we've got to bear in mind it's being recorded as well. So in the chat, in that link, I've also given you a free psychological questionnaire. Just thought it would be a bit of fun, not to do now, but I invite you to sort of complete the workbook, which the workbook's much more detailed than what we're covering off today. Gives you time for a bit of reflection. And when you write things down, you're 25% more likely to do it and act on it. And there's also a transactional analysis psychological questionnaire there for you. And it really helps to understand why and who we are. So hope you enjoy that. And please, I invite you to have a look and use that. When you add stuff, and also, if you've got anything to add, please put it in the chat. If it's a question, start with a Q, the word Q, the letter Q, or the word question, and then put your question in there. And then please let it flow. If you've got anything you want to contribute, put it in. I won't be able to look at it all the way through, but I'm banking on Peter to maybe pick out some golden nuggets, and we can work together and experience that. So let me share the screen. And if you've got a pen and paper, that's a really good start. So I'll just share this. And, oh, it's done that again, Peter. Hang on a minute. All right. I'm just going to have to do something.
It must be open on different screens.
Yeah, it did that earlier, didn't it? Can you see that when I bring it up?
It's done what it was doing before. It's just saying start the screen sharing. If you might be worthwhile just closing it again and just reopening it.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I'll just
okay. Technical
what
glitch.
it means is I'm gonna this is what happened before. I'm doing it on. Can you see that?
Yeah, just go into
right. I'll have to put it into presenter mode. And sorry about that. I had it open, ready in presenter mode, and it clearly doesn't work when you have it set up on Canva that way. So yeah, the title, The Art of Saying No, my business is Accelerator Coaching. So I can't see all of your faces right now. So just please add in chat if you've got anything to add here. But I invite you to use a pen and paper. everyone in this room gets to be equal and gets to be right. And that's what my coaching style is all about. Although today is a bit more of training rather than coaching. And what's said in the room stays in the room, although it is being recorded. So like Peter said, if anyone shares anything that they feel that they don't want it to be shared or you know, to the public, please let us know and we'll take that out. And the chat will download that, send it out, and that's just for us in the room in our conversation today. And you can see this little light bulb icon with a group of people. There's nothing more powerful than collective wisdom. And so although I am talking more than I usually do because it's recorded and it's training, I do invite you to sort of contribute. It's an experience and it's about embedding our learnings. So I didn't stop share right now because of what happened just there. So what I'll just explain is there's two words that shape our life story, and they're yes and no. And the power of those two words, I mean, it can just change your life completely. So understanding why we say yes in the first place when we should be saying no is the first step in learning how not to do it. And so we do this by looking at our beliefs and values, and we've got to manage our internal boundaries and check in on ourselves and follow our gut instincts. So I'm just going to try something that you might have not done before, and just more for a bit of kind of fun and experience. But can you all see the blob tree here? There's just going to invite you to look at that picture. And it's very personal to you, and we can change by the day. You know, we might have just had a terrible morning, or we might feel on top of the world after the bank holiday weekend. But I'm going to invite you to annotate on here, and we'll guide you with that. And if you struggle with it, just shout out and I'll add it on. And what I mean is, in terms of annotate, there's a button where you can put a stamp onto the blob that where you are right now, or where you feel you are right now. So before I explain how to do that, if you just look at the tree and just look at which one resonates with you right now, which person or blob on the tree, and just in life or in business, whatever you choose, which one really jumps out. And unfortunately, we can't go around the room because there isn't time. If it was a half-day workshop, we'd discuss it a bit more. But and if you use the annotate button at the top, then there's and if you can find it, and Peter might be able to guide you if you're struggling there, just shout out. You press annotate, and there's maybe a view options on your screen, and at the top of your screen there's annotate, and then you press a stamp. Yeah, that's great. So Catherine's just done a little circle. That's brilliant. You can do circles, ticks, stamps, and just invite you. That's well done, guys. That's great. And if anyone doesn't know where they can find annotate, or they want to just shout out and ask me to put a stamp on for them, I will. And it's more just to see, you can see a couple of the here climbing up the tree, hugging the tree, one at the end here, and you can see it stays anonymous once you've put your mark on there. And we'll save this and download it. It's just to see where everyone, it's just see if there's a common theme. You can see actually 3 of us in the room today are already here hugging the tree halfway up. So we've got 4 or 5 on there. I'd say I'll put mine on as well, make it fair. Annotate, little stamp, little heart. I'll put mine there. So we've got a few on there. Would anyone else like to add any on, or shall I just save this and download it? You'll have to shout out because I can't see everybody.
I think Sarah was Theresa. Sarah, did you get yours on?
No, I can't get it to work. All I'm getting is when I'm doing view is standard speaker gallery and exit full view.
Right.
So hang on. Found it.
Oh, brilliant. I thought, I know it's a bit of a that's great. It's a bit of a palaver, but I thought it's just a good tool to learn to use anyway when we're on Zoom, and so it was just something I thought worth doing. But you can see there's a common theme here within our room today, can't you, that we're kind of on our own trying to climb up, hug onto something, we're trying to get there. So why I'm doing this is sort of, we'll look at it at the end and look at ways of what we need to say yes to and what we need to say no to in order to shape our lives and move forward to where we want to be on that blob tree. So I'm going to save that, and you'll have a copy of the presentation. So I'll just save that now. That's saved. I'll stop share. The only thing is, if I, right, I'll stop share. And I'm hoping when I share again, I'm going to end up having to open it up again. I didn't realize that did it on Canva. You learn, you've got to learn along the way, haven't you? So, yeah, in terms of beliefs and values, it's just really important to sort of learn more about our own beliefs. So there's a couple of questions you can ask yourself that really help with identifying what those beliefs are. So you've got your workbook, which if you've printed it off, you can add notes on there or just add them separately. But, you know, there is this question, what would you not be prepared to do, even if it would make you really successful at work? What would you not be prepared to do, even if it made you really successful at work or in life? And just have a little think. I'm going to be throwing lots of little questions like that. And it's, you know, so for instance, I wouldn't be prepared to go away for 6 months and leave my family, you know, and that's just, and that helps my beliefs are, and that really, so it's just asking yourself that question. And then another really good question is in terms of beliefs, you know, will you be able to look at yourself in the mirror tomorrow if you say yes or no to something today? And how will you see yourself in the mirror after you've considered that? And you know, it compromises our boundaries when we say no or yes to something. I'm not going to be talking like this all the time. It's just sort of just a few facts thrown in because this is such a huge topic. But you know, boundaries define our emotional and mental space between us and something or someone. And these can be physical, tangible, emotional, and intangible. So if you've ever said to someone, no, draw the line here, you've set a boundary. It's as simple as that. And you can think of times when you have gone point blank, no, and it just doesn't feel right. And today I'll share some tools with you as well that can help with making a decision if you're not sure whether to say yes or no. But just be sure to know that boundaries are there to help us. They're there to protect us. So they bring us clarity to what's our responsibility and what is somebody else's. And they preserve our physical and emotional energies. So if you say yes to something and it doesn't feel right, it's going to, like, you know, we'll have an imbalance with our energy and how we feel. Another great question is to elicit values is to consider what's important to you about a certain situation. So if you think about something that you've said no to in the past, what was important to you in that? And ask that question 3 or 4 times. What was important about that? And every time you're out, what's important to me about this? What else is important? What else is important? That helps. If you do that each day, just with just one little example, you'll sort of start to see a pattern of what your values are. So I'm going to try and share the screen again and wish me luck here. And keep adding things in the chat. Oh, I can see a question here, and I'm going to be covering gut feeling. Now I'm just hoping this opens up okay. And oh, it's going to do it again. I usually use PowerPoint.
Just be a quirk.
Right. Yeah, I usually use PowerPoint, so it's interesting that this has happened. I'm going to struggle with sharing the slides. I shouldn't have done it on Canva. Well, live and learn. I'm glad I know this now for the next time I'm doing it with the council. Right, so I'll put it in present mode again.
Still not come up yet, Theresa.
Right, okay, so I'll stop share.
That's it.
Okay,
right.
That's it. So we've got the blob tree. So just a couple of slides here, then we'll go into a little breakout room as well. So you have a chance to talk as well. So understanding why we say yes when we should be saying no is the first step in learning how not to do it. So understanding our values, understanding our beliefs are a big part of why we, should be saying no in the first place, and understanding them. So feel free to add in the chat if you'd like to add to this, but why do you say yes to things? Write it down or put it in the chat, and we'll try and come back to it at the end. Why do you say yes to things? These are some examples: people pleasing, not pausing to reflect. You can't say no to your boss. Many of us are self-employed, so that might not be true for all of us here, but maybe in the past at work you've had that happen in employment. Peer pressure, you don't know what you want. That's kind of a key thing, and that's what we're going to do today. It's a chance to step back and actually work out what our boundaries are in the first place, because if we haven't actually sat and worked out what they are, then how do you know when to say yes or no? So if anyone, has anybody added more in the chat there, Peter, just to add? Obviously I'm conscious of time, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah, just got a couple of people saying don't want to let people down.
Yeah.
To help people. So I'll say yes assuming I'll work it out later. Overestimating capacity for work, liking to help.
Yeah. We're all nice people in this room, clearly. I know. It's also worth, in the workbook, I've got a question in there, how do you view others that do say no? And, do you actually think, oh God, they're awful people? Or do you think, actually, I wish I could be like that? So that's something we'll touch on. But what will they think of me if I say no? Yeah, so there's that worry, you worry people will think you're lazy, selfish, uncooperative, not a team player. What else goes on in your mind if you say no? What is it? And that transactional analysis questionnaire that's on the website we've sent the link to, that helps identify as well what goes on when you're having a transaction with another human being. It actually identifies what your style is, so that's really useful. And again, it's understanding ourselves is the first step to being more assertive and confident and saying no when we need to. But there are times when no is good. So, like if your kid wants their 10th bag of sweets and you're not being nasty by saying no, and when a yes spreads us too thinly. So, and when a yes feels wrong. So actually, I noticed, Peter, did you put something in there about gut feeling?
Yeah, I just asked the question. It's probably different for different situations, but are you best to follow your gut, which is often right, or do you follow your head, which is telling you that actually, yeah, you should do it, but your gut is saying you really haven't got the capacity for this, or something like that?
Yeah, I've actually got a little exercise in here, and it's called head, heart, and gut. And it's a really powerful little thing to use. So we'll share that. And thanks for that. Yeah, we definitely use all three. And I think the other thing is, again, it's stepping back, reflecting and being aware of it rather than just jumping into it. So again, it's like, am I using, what does my head say? What does my heart say? What does my gut say? And ask all three questions. But yeah, I've got a slide on that. So thanks for that. It's really valid. So when you say yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. And by saying yes to something, what are you saying no to? And by saying no to something, what are you saying yes to? So I'm just looking at the time. How many are in the room? Because I'm wondering if it's something we could get away with doing as a group all on screen, or
we've got 14 people, Theresa.
Oh, it's probably too big a room. Yeah, there's some questions here, everyone, and I thought it would be good to kind of go in a breakout room for 10, well, probably 8 minutes. And these are the questions to ask. So it might help to take a picture with your phone so you remember what the questions are, because I'm not sure I can copy and paste that. So take a little picture or write some notes there, and we're just going to discuss them in the breakout rooms. So when was the last time you said yes to something when you really wanted to say no? What did you feel, think, see? And again, I'm looking at, these questions of think, feel, see, how, why. Everyone is different. Some of us are feelers, some of us are thinkers. We use cognitive, some of us are visual. 65% of us are visual, actually. So according to various books out there. So yeah, have a little think of that. And by saying yes, what did you say no to? And really, this is about, how often do we actually step back and think this way, and get your pen and paper and really write it down and discuss it. And what beliefs do you hold about people who say no? And the workbook I've got also really develops that. You go into it more because there's a good few pages on it. So Peter, in terms of setting the breakout rooms, I'm just thinking in sort of groups of 3s and 4s, something like that. I don't know.
I've set up 3 breakout rooms with 4 people in each.
Oh, look at that, mind reader. So are you okay to set that up? And is everyone okay with that? I'm just trying to see if I stop sharing this. Have you all got the questions there? And everyone okay to go in breakout rooms now?
I'll open up the
Lovely.
rooms.
So
everyone should get an invite, and then you just be able to go into your rooms.
in
and then
8 minutes.
When you leave, please come back to the room. Don't leave the meeting, otherwise you'll disappear. Okay.
Okay, enjoy. And I might dip in and out, but I'll not talk.
And everyone's gone.
Everyone's gone. So
I'm just
is
going
it
to
still record what we say? We have 2 or recording in progress. We just got a little notification. So what we say yes and no to is verbal, but we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. And, communication, there's all sorts of figures out there. Some say 7% is actually what we say. The rest is, and there's lots of schools of thought, and then the rest is kind of body language, tone, pace, reaction. So really important. And now is everyone back in the room? And now I've learned on Canva I'll just share the screen again to do that so it's not in presenter mode, and then it might be a bit easier. Can everyone see that okay?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. I might just leave it like that rather than presenter mode, but if anyone struggles seeing the page, let me know. So yeah, we just mentioned there boundaries and active listening. So we've discussed boundaries. We've scratched the surface with boundaries. It's a huge topic. It can go on for another few days going on to that. But active listening is like 3rd degree listening. So, many of us, as Stephen Covey says, we've got to listen to understand, not listen to kind of answer, which many of us do. We like listen and then suddenly just jump in and we're waiting to respond. If we listen to understand and seek first to understand before anybody else can understand you, it's really important to bear that in mind. So just there's Katie, you'd mentioned stand up for what you believe in, and find that place to understand, seek first to understand, and then then you'll be understood. How can you bring a sense of calm to the mind? There's a really, Rebecca will have a few here and a few of others, but that kind of sense of calm. One really useful little exercise, if I've been faced with a situation where I'm not sure whether to say yes or no, or I'm just in conflict or something, I'm uncomfortable, a 4 squared breathing exercise is really good. If you picture a square, and it doesn't take very long. And if you just need to pause and reflect before you answer somebody, or you feel like you're going to get upset, just breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose, picture the square, and then hold for 4 seconds, and then go down on the square, breathe out for 4 seconds, and then pause for 4 seconds. And then you've got your square. Just do that a couple of times. Just makes you stop, thinking nothing but the breathing, and then sometimes you can get a clearer, picture of what you want to say. So also bear in mind how it feels to be listened to, and when's the last time you felt truly heard and listened to? Because kind of half the battle is all you've got to do quite often is someone's asking you to do something. If you really listen and ask them a couple more questions, quite often they can probably do it themselves. and you can empower them to do it, and it saves you doing it. You just got to understand a little bit more. So I know I can see nodding heads, and it sounds obvious, but it's just a little reminder, isn't it? So now I've got a little exercise to give you, and it just takes a couple of minutes. Well, about 3 minutes it'll take. So need your thinking caps on here. Dare I share? I'll stop sharing the screen. Okay, it's just, I'm going to read something out to you, and it's to check your listening skills, really, check in on yourself. So you need a little pen and paper, or if you're really good at retaining things in your mind, that's great. And I'm going to read something out and then ask you a question at the end, and that's it. And again, the reason for doing this is we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we are talking about the art of saying no. And you know, and how we say yes and no shapes the story of our lives. But actually, listening is probably the most fundamental thing here. So here goes. Ears ready? Okay, I can see a couple of people talking, so I'm not sure if you're able, but I'm about to read it now and then ask a question. So, you're a bus driver with a 40-seater bus and 5 stops. This is the route and the passenger details. Stop 1, 3 people get on the bus. 1 person has a red hat. 1 person is elderly. Stop 2, 4 people get on the bus. 1 gets off the bus. Stop 3, 2 people get on the bus. 1 person is carrying a bag. The person with the red hat gets off. Stop 4, 2 people get on the bus. 1 gets on with a pram. Stop 5, 3 elderly people get on the bus. The person carrying the bag gets off the bus. Now, how old is the bus driver?
Old.
It's 50.
Anybody else?
You didn't say the bus driver's age.
I'm the bus driver. So
Yes.
I'm 32.
Yeah. Did anyone? Yeah, the first sentence, the first thing I said was, you're a bus driver with a 40-seater bus and 5 stops. So, do you know, actually, well done to those who've got it, because quite often, hardly, nobody in the room gets it. And this is the power of listening. Yeah. That really says it all. Like, just by missing that crucial fact, you could say yes to something when you could say no quite easily, just through listening. So just a really worthwhile little exercise that I thought was worth sharing with you. So now I'm going to share the screen again, and I'll put it into presenter mode, I think, because it's just a little bit, wow, okay, no, I'll just leave it like that. So this is a really useful way of helping if you're in a situation with saying yes or no, or you're not sure, it's not obvious. Imagine having a compass in your hand. So sometimes it detaches the emotion from it. So you physically just like put your hand in front of you and imagine there's a compass in it, and think of a situation when you think of the last time you've been in the breakout rooms, you've discussed times when you said yes, when you wish you'd said no. Think of that situation now and look at the compass in your hand and sort of gauge where the needle is pointing. So, and just if ever you're faced with the situation, like I said about reflect and pause, this is a really useful tool as well. So just having a compass in your hand, where is the needle? And yeah, has anyone got any questions about that, or how they feel how useful they think that could be in a situation? Would anyone like to contribute there with a thought? Has anyone seen it before? So it's just, just worth, and add anything in the chat, and we'll come around towards the end of this. We'll have a little chance to look through the chat and just discuss, wrap it up, But it's just another little tool, like the 4 square breathing, picturing the compass in your hand, and Then the next question goes on to what Peter was asking about earlier: head, heart, and gut. So just invite you to remember this. And a really good exercise here, if you have time to get your pen and paper out when you're making a decision, is to actually draw a stick man or a person, if you're brilliant at drawing, and draw like a cloud for the head. So that's your cognitive thinking and what you're thinking of. A heart, you can actually physically draw a heart in the chest, and then some kind of circle for the gut, and write in there what it says. And if I'll share an example. I was asked to write a magazine article for somebody last week, and I was so busy, and I literally, my head was saying, nope, definitely not, can't do that. My heart was saying, oh, do you know what, I should do it because you never know what might happen. And then my gut was saying, oh, I can't cope, I don't know what to do here. But my head kind of, my gut said, let's ask some more questions. And your gut is your second, your tummy's your second brain, and it's using your amygdala, it's the emotion, and that's what helps us survive, So I actually thought, you know what, I listened, and well, it was an email, but I listened and looked at it again and again. I assumed they wanted it there and then because it was a magazine deadline. And I just replied, when is the deadline? Open question, not a closed question, like I'm struggling to do it or give anything away. Just wrote one open question, when is the deadline? And you know what? A day later, reply, anytime you want. So now I can say yes. But it was just doing that little head, heart, gut kind of exercise. So again, kind of just, bear in mind a situation and really consider the three, because they're three different types of feelings, and ask yourself questions in each of those areas. And actually, if you really still yourself and sort of in a situation when you want to say no, just, it's a really good way. You can actually sense where the answers are coming from. So it's worth doing that.
I think on that one, Theresa, if I react quickly, I'm going with my gut. If I think about it too long with my head, I tend to say no. I think about it logically, but if it gets me inside for some reason, that's when that wins out. So I think heart wins, gut's fast, head is when I think about it.
Yeah, lovely. And do you know, actually, heart, it's not always the case. It depends on different personality styles and communication styles as well. Some are very much based on task, and others are based on people. So we all have all those, and then our values and beliefs all come into it as well. So that's a great point, Peter. So just in terms, we've got 10 minutes left. So these are just a few things. I'm just wondering if I can just put this into presenter mode just for the final couple of slides, and then I'll stop sharing. And then we can just wrap this up. So say no gracefully. So be considered, be direct, be truthful, be clear, be firm, be unwavering. Easier said than done, I know, but really, some tips here. 7 easier ways to say no. Actually, I've only got 6 on there. I'm sure I've missed one out. Anyway, we'll find one. Someone can add in the chat the 7th one and we'll have a look at that. So smile. It kind of can win people over with a bit of a smile, and positivity is actually proven to encourage people to be more adventurous. There's scientific proof of that. So if you're positive, you'll be more adventurous. And that then means you might have the courage to say no. Still your body language. What that means is, don't give too much away. So if somebody is on Zoom actually these days, or face-to-face, and they come to you and ask for something to be done, if you kind of just keep very still and not too open, and just listen. Avoid asking questions. Now, I know I did mention about asking questions, but when in the heat of the moment, just kind of stay quiet and really listen to what they have to say. But then on the other hand, you can interrupt them if you know what path they're going down, but politely interrupt them before they waste their time giving you a whole load of instructions when you know fine well you're not going to listen properly anyway. So you can interrupt politely and say, look, what is it exactly you need doing here? Preempting them is another really good sort of method. So you could kind of say, look, I know you're about to ask me about this, but it means that I can't get X, Y, Z done for tomorrow if I do this. So what are the options here? So you can actually kind of preempt and get in there first. Or then preempted a meeting. Sort of a good tip is, all right, over the next 2 to 3 weeks, I've got X, 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 and I've got to do them, and kind of get that in before they even have a chance to ask you anymore. So then they all will hold back or decide you can work it out from there. So they're just little ideas about how to say no. If you've got a 7th one, add it in the chat. I think I'll probably move that onto, yes, I think that's what I did. I put it onto a separate slide. So choose discomfort over resentment. If you've heard of Brené Brown, she's an absolute superstar with some great quotes. And, resentment festers. It's a long-term thing. Discomfort, 5 or 10 minutes. So really have a little think there, and bear that in mind with your head, heart, gut and your compass. You'll be flying here. The other thing I noticed somebody said earlier about having too many things to do. Give fewer things more attention. Not much more to say there. Give fewer things more attention. Impact. If you look at your list of things to do, what's the impact going to be on your business and on your life? Look at the list and then pick them. And here's some questions here. How much freer will your life be when you only say yes when you really mean it? How much freer? And as entrepreneurs, I think many of us value freedom, don't we? That's why we run our own businesses. Well, that's what I think anyway. It's what I've come across time and time again. So yeah, how much freer? Is there someone who will hold you accountable? And what are you committed to working on going forwards? So based on what we've looked at today, and here, because given that 65% of us are visual, there's some little pictures I've put on there, because I wouldn't be a true coach if you didn't go away with some goals and accountability. So this is another way of looking at maybe setting a goal for yourself in terms of what you need to say no to, and using it. And it could be for your business or your life. And I just invite you to write down which picture resonates with you and set yourself some accountability or a target or a goal with a deadline of how you'll do that. So it could be, and I want to spend less time on the laptop. I'm going to say no to 5 hours on the laptop every day and say yes to 3 hours on the laptop. It could be, I'm going to say yes to spending more time with my family and making time there. Yeah, I'm just giving examples. It could be stop working alone all the time and kind of try and work with other people more now that we're coming out of this lockdown, go and meet people face to face. So just invite you to get your pen and paper. We've got 5 minutes left and I'll close the screen in a moment. But has anyone got any questions there? Just while you're writing things down. So it's just what you're going to say yes to, what you're going to say no to in order to achieve a goal with a deadline using the pictures on the screen. Just some wild writing, whatever comes to mind. And I'll just give you a minute. I'll go quiet for a minute and just have a think. And if you'd like to share any in the chat and hold yourself accountable, or we could, I don't know, Peter, if we could set like a on the Facebook Mint page, sort of a summary, and then everyone kind of put goals in there on the comments. If you want it to be public, but if you want it to be private, that's fine as well.
Yeah.
And we could share this picture or something and ask everyone what goal they'd like to set.
We can do. We can start a post trail on there, and obviously this recording will be available on the Mint website in a couple of days as well.
Yeah.
So there may be other people who want to contribute to that.
Yeah. I quite like the umbrellas as well, because they can all have different categories, you know, one be more positive and red admin, or, you know, and have different colors as you walk under the umbrella. There's all sorts of meanings. People have see things differently. Everyone sees things differently. So I'm going to unshare that. I'm sorry to move on, but we've only got sort of 4 minutes. So here's the blob tree, and it's kind of just reminding yourself of where you were at the start of this conversation we're having today, and consider where you'd like to be. And again, that might help with reaffirming what your goal is. And so you can visually see where it is you want to be. Just consider that. What do you need to say no to in order to get to where you want to be on the blob tree right now? And yeah, what's worked well for you today? I'm going to close the screen down. What are you going to take away from today? What one thing will you take away with you today? And I'll whiz around the room and let's just see what one thing is kind of going to stick with you, and what's your first next step. Oh, it's a couple of extra slides on there, but yeah, that's pretty much it, everyone. It's just wondering, yeah, thank you. Just got a couple of minutes, so if we whiz around the room, is that all right? And if you need to go at 11, that's fine. Just whiz around the room and just wondering what one thing you're going to take away with you today, and just keep it quite succinct if you don't mind, just because we've only got a couple of minutes left. So if I go around the room, and if you feel uncomfortable speaking, just shake your head. But if I go in order of the room, Rebecca, you come first on my screen. So what will you be taking away with you today?
I would hope that Sir Peter doesn't say no.
That would be good. Say no.
Phil, you're next on there. Is there anything particular that stood out for you today?
I want to work with more people rather than being on my own all the time. I want to get more collaborations going.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And if anyone doesn't want this recorded, we can, Katie, you're next.
Yeah, just the power of saying no, and that you really honour yourself by saying no quite often as well.
You honour yourself by saying no. Lovely. Naomi, you're next on my screen.
I'd say that my takeaway from today is to never feel kind of repressed when someone says no to something, to kind of just take it on the chin and maybe understand that there is something or reason behind why they've said no to you. It's not just something against you, it is because that is just their business. That's
lovely. So detach from that. Lovely.
Yeah.
And any of the tools today that will be useful, do you think, like the compass, or are they things that are...
The compass, maybe, because I feel like I need to find myself direction. So for me, the compass is something that I need to think about. I need to think about where I want to be. I need to think about how I'm going to get there, and basically just getting myself into the right direction to make myself better. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I actually put the words into your mouth there. The compass. Did you like the compass?
It was the compass in the laptop. But as soon as you said compass, I thought, yeah, direction. Direction is most important for me.
Oh, thank you. And Sarah, you're next on there.
So I think one of the biggest takeaways is the fact that it's okay to say no. You're not letting anybody down. You're actually probably doing yourself a favour if you say no. And I think one of the things that I want to try and work on is to, if somebody asks me to do something.
Oh, thanks, Katie. Sorry, Katie's going. Yeah, go on.
If somebody asks you to do something, it's like what you were saying. clarify what their expectations are before you give an answer, so that actually when you're giving a yes or a no answer, you're more informed as to what the entire picture is.
Lovely. Yeah, definitely. The 2 ears, 1 mouth. Thank you, Sarah. And Samantha, I've seen you've put there saying no to something means saying yes to something else. So is that enough for you to, or do you want to speak?
Yeah, I feel like you forget that when you just say yes to everything, something's got to give. And we were saying in our group, it's usually like your spare time, or taking the dog for a kind of shorter walk, or like not getting to bed as early. So when you say yes to everything, like something else has got to give. So by saying no, you're actually trying to keep those boundaries in place, which I think everybody's got, but a lot of us need to kind of practice.
Yeah, that's such a, that's a really useful thing, isn't it? And just understanding what's important to you, because that's the key. At the end of the day, if you're happy, then everyone else will be. So and does anyone need to go and want to speak up quickly, or I can go continuing? Go on, Ian.
I need to go. So the main thing I take away is to pause before making a decision. So either think about it, the square, or literally say, okay, hear what you're saying, I need to take that away, and then come back to you. So having that gap instead of instantly making the decision and then later going, was that really a good yes?
Yeah, and Ian, the thing is as well, that the person concerned will value your answer more because you've considered it and taken time. They'll actually, so that's really worth bearing in mind, that they'll take it more seriously. And thank you, Ian.
Thank you for today. Yeah. And I'm going now. Yes, right, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just conscious there's a couple of people left, so I'm just wanted to make sure everyone's had a chance to speak, but we are over time. So does anybody else? Vicky, Catherine? Actually, I'm going in order. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I don't mind saying I don't often say yes when I really mean no. So for me, that wasn't so much of an issue. I think I've learned to say no or check in with my gut feeling. So it was interesting what Peter was saying, that even if I think stuff through, it's generally my gut that wins over if something's just not quite right with me. But I think for me, it is about prioritizing me a little bit more. So I start work really early in the morning, and I've just kept going throughout the day, and I tend to flag like mid-afternoon and just saying, do you know what, it's all right to actually have a lunch break and to stop doing stuff and just kind of like recharge. And so it's not so much that there's a pressure on me to keep going from external people. It's more about internally, that it's all right to just stop and chill. So I suppose it's saying yes to that rather than saying
Alex.
yes or no to something else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. That I'm really pleased you brought that up, Catherine, because it's the internal thing. Because like you, I'm kind of okay with saying yes or no. I'm quite comfortable with that. But actually, when it comes to me in my office all day, get to 2 o'clock and I'm flagging, I'm actually not very productive. So and it's understanding why we're saying yes to those things. It doesn't have to be extrinsic or external. It can be intrinsic, and it's how you're feeling in yourself. And that's a really good, valid point. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know if there's anyone left. Vicky, or is it that is not there, but thank you so much, everyone. I'm conscious that Peter's stepped in and it's school holidays and it's 11:05, so we could probably stop recording now, could we? And then
just a big thank you to you, Theresa, for hosting this session. Really interesting. I'm sure
really great session.
It's a lot to fit in an hour. You can see you could go on for a day doing this, couldn't you? It's like there's so much content. Enjoy the workbook and let me know. Do keep in touch on Accelerator Coaching. You'll just find me somewhere. And thank you so much, everyone.